Hey everybody, welcome back. And if you haven't been here before, welcome to my channel. I'm Dan, and this is Dan Martin Likes You. This video is something I've been meaning to do for a very long time, but finally I got around to it. 25 bookish facts about me. Plus, at the very end of the video, I'm going to reveal the cover to my book, Operation Cure Boredom, and hopefully get you guys to weigh in on what you think. Maybe. I don't know. You don't have to. I'm not the boss of you. You can do whatever you want. So, here we go. Number one, the book that convinced me finally to write my own book was Naked by David Sedaris. I think it was the year 2000. My mother had just sent me a copy of it in hardcover, and I read it cover to cover in one day, and I was just absolutely stunned by how beautiful that memoir was, because it was a memoir that was told in like a collection of essays, and it completely just opened my mind how memoirs could be told. My experiences in the military were very, very funny and absurd, and I'd never read a memoir like that. And so when I read Naked, I just knew that I could do it. It was the impetus that got me down the road to today. Number two, when I was a kid in school, I used to turn in all my reports in script format. Just like instead of writing an essay, I would write it as two people were talking with one explaining to the other. I did not do well in school. That there may be a correlation between those two. Number three, I am a page flipper. What does that mean? That means that I have this very nervous habit of taking a paperback book and just flipping through the pages over and over again. So while I'm reading a book, I need another one to actually just flip through pages. My wife could not be more annoyed by that habit. Number four, when I was about 10 years old, I wrote a note, a letter to the only author I knew at the time, who was Jim Davis. He's the cartoonist and creator behind Garfield the comic, and he actually wrote back. I don't remember. I've never kept the note. I lost it somewhere along the way. But I just remember being so floored by that and being so honored that he took the time to write back. I mean, it looked like he wrote it. I don't know. Maybe he didn't. Number five, I have a tattoo because of a book that I read. Can you see that? Sisyphus. I got that tattooed on my arm after I'd gotten out of the military. I got it because of The Myth of Sisyphus by Albert Camus. The quick and short story is that a lot of people that I went to the military with were getting like bald eagles and American flags and Tasmanian devils. And I had read that book while I was in the service, and I thought, that's what I want. That pretentious me was like, let's go get that. And then I got it, and the first time I went to a bar after I'd gotten that tattoo, some girl looked at me and was like, why'd you get syphilis tattooed on your arm? Number six, I like my bookshelves messy. I don't know why. I love the disorder of them. Number seven, favorite book of all time. I get asked this question from time to time from friends, and I really don't know how to answer that. Mostly because as I get older, my tastes tend to change, and so over the course of my life, there are many books. I would say that my go-tos are Naked by David Sedaris, Homeland by Sam Lipsyte, Pilgrim at Tinker Creek by Annie Dillard, Beloved by Toni Morrison was something that blew me away. Number eight, I loved going to the library when I was a kid. I grew up on Long Island, and there was a wonderful library in our neighborhood, and I would go just to read encyclopedias. I know that sounds nerdy, but actually it was just kind of sad. I think it's because all I ever wanted to know was like facts. I just wanted information. I didn't care to, at that time when I was a kid, I wasn't like interested in reading The Red Pony or of Mice and Men. I just wanted facts. I wanted to know the capital of Botswana. I wanted to know the population of China. Those are things I wanted to know, and I loved reading encyclopedias. Number nine, I went to college on the GI Bill, and I did it with the intention of getting a degree in creative writing, but soon after I arrived, I discovered how much I loved writing scripts, which is a completely different form of writing, and stopped attending classes so I could just write scripts all day, and at night I would work a job on campus. And oops. Number 10, everything I've ever written before the age of 18 had a very important cover, some sort of work of art or some kind of photograph on it that always, I would hope, prompted people to ask questions. But 9 times out of 10, the photograph on the cover was usually of me contemplating something quite serious, whatever it was. Number 11, I have always wanted to be a writer, except for the age of 19 when I joined the military in the hopes, not the hopes, on the promise that I would be a secret bombardier or fighter pilot of some kind, if I remember. And then I got into the military and realized I was not qualified to be in the military, and I was essentially tricked. That's when I immediately went back to wanting to just be a writer. Number 12, I love owning books because every time I've finished reading one, it feels like a trophy on my shelf. Number 13, I was such a shy kid. I was so afraid of just like meeting other people and just kind of a little sad that I loved stories. They were a way for me to escape until I turned 15 and discovered LSD. And then that became my favorite thing for a while, on top of reading books. Number 14, the first thing I ever wrote when I was a kid was a puppet play. It was elaborate. It took me 6 months to write. I remember I put little stars around all the character names so everyone knew their part. But no one was allowed to see it. No one could read it. No one could see it. So it was never performed. I just wrote it for myself. Number 15, I struggled for years to become a professional writer, and I was writing scripts when I moved to Los Angeles, and no one would read them. And finally, I took a page out of David Sedaris' handbook. Not that he intended to do this, but I started writing and performing essays at literary shows around Los Angeles, and even one at the KGB bar in New York. And it was through those shows that I got discovered as a writer, and which in turn launched my career as a television and digital writer here in Los Angeles, which was wonderful. And 16, today I get paid to be a writer for a living, and I'm so humbled and so grateful that I get to do that every day. Number 17, I remember the moment where my mind was like blown by a book, and that was the Choose Your Own Adventure book series. I don't know how many people actually remember those, but the first time I read one and I realized you could skip to another part of the book to continue the story like a maze just blew me away. And I think I must have read like 50 of those things by the time I was like 13. Number 18, in college, I used to go to every author event that I could, and the coolest author I ever met was Tobias Wolff. I think I related to him a little bit because he is a veteran. He went to Vietnam. He's a Vietnam vet. I cannot claim to be a combat veteran. I am not. But I was in the military during a time of war, and I remember being able to relate to him over that. And he was funny and awesome and very generous and kind. Number 19, I've never listened to an audiobook in my life, and I even have one of these Audible cards with 2 free books that I've kept for I've had that now for 2 years. I don't even know if it's good anymore. I am not opposed to Audible books, by the way. I've never had the time to do it because you have to sit down and listen, and I just don't have. If I'm sitting down, I either want to be reading a book or I want to be writing. Number 20, it's really hard for me to get my time in to read and write between my job, where I'm at probably, if you include the travel time to get to work, the commuting time it gets to work, I'm probably away from my house 10 hours a day. You throw a very awesome marriage on top of that and a very addictive personality to video games. I find it very difficult to carve out time to read and write. So I get up at 3:30 every morning. I usually spend the first 2 hours reading, and then I spend the next 2 hours writing. And that's usually all the time each day I can get in to do it. Number 21, I am the slowest reader I have ever known. And I think this is why I suck at book clubs. I am terrible at book clubs unless they are really short books. I'm currently trying to be part of two, and I have just failed miserably. Number 22, I still carry a backpack as if I'm in school, and that way I always ensure that I have a book on me at all times. Currently, I'm reading Lab Girl, and I don't know where it is. I don't know where I put it. It's hilariously, it's not on me. 23. The greatest compliment I've ever received about my writing was in a rejection letter from Esquire magazine about 10 years ago. I tried to submit an essay about my life in the military, and they wrote the nicest note ever, which I still have somewhere. I couldn't find it now, but I know it's around somewhere. But they basically wrote, "We're sorry we can't publish this. You made us laugh out loud. Just remember that." And I thought, thank you. It just it validated everything that I had done, and one day I'm gonna frame that and hang it on my wall. I just absolutely was so grateful that they wrote that note. Number 24, the most embarrassing thing I have ever written was a secret admirer letter. I was 15, I think. I was staying at my aunt and uncle's house on a horse farm up in New Hampshire. There was a girl who lived down the road. The only other house, by the way, in this very, very rural part of the state. And I wrote a note and I slipped it in her mailbox at night, and I ran home. The next day, she came knocking on my door, and I was so afraid. I was so scared, and I don't know why I was so embarrassed. And of course she found me. I'm the only person in the whole neck of the woods. Oh, so embarrassing. And finally, number 25. I wrote a book. It's a memoir. It's told in a collection of essays. It's called Operation Cure Boredom. It comes out October 18th of this year, 2016. I am very proud of it. It took me 16 years to write, on and off, not 16 consistent years, 16 on and off. They were due to work and life, whatever. There were periods where I stopped writing for a year or more, so it wasn't a consistent 16 years. But nevertheless, 16 years, and finally it's coming out this year. And so let me show you the cover so you guys can see it. Let's see if I can grab this and show you. Boom. What do you think? That's it. That's the cover. It's got a huge banana on it. Who doesn't like bananas? There's a little bit of symbolism there. There's a story about a banana. I'm not going to give that away, but that's it. That's the cover. I hope that's interesting. I hope you liked it. Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. If you hate it, tell me. Let me know. I don't care. It's fine. That's it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching all the way through. Thanks for checking out yet another video. And to all those people who are new subscribers, thank you. To old subscribers, thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you guys next week. Bye. Have a great week.